The Academy of the Stars was a place of pride for many alien species. It was built on a floating world between two suns, its towers shining like blades of crystal. Here, the best and brightest cadets of the galaxy trained to become leaders, soldiers, and explorers. But there was one subject they never spoke of with respect: humans. Humans were banned from the council. Their name was written only in history books, marked with shame. The ban had lasted for more than a century, and in the eyes of most cadets, it was proof that humans were dangerous and unworthy. To them, humans were nothing more than a cautionary tale, a joke passed in the dorm halls. On this day, the lecture hall buzzed with laughter. Dozens of alien cadets sat in curved rows, their glowing eyes fixed on the instructor. The screen behind him displayed the words, "Species expelled humanity." A three-fingered alien cadet leaned forward and whispered to his friend. They called themselves warriors, yet the council banned them like children. The others laughed, some slamming their tails against the floor in amusement. To them, humanity was a myth of arrogance, a failed species too violent to join the galaxy. In the corner sat Reinar, a young cadet with dark-scaled skin. He was usually quiet, but today his eyes burned with curiosity. "Why were they really banned?" he asked softly. His voice was almost lost under the laughter, but the instructor heard. The tall alien professor turned slowly, his face unreadable. "The reason," he said, "is simple. Humans were reckless, dangerous, and unstable. The council had no choice." But Reinar felt the words were too easy, too clean. He noticed the way the professor avoided looking directly at him, and he noticed something else. At the bottom of the screen, a faint symbol flashed. Archive footage, restricted. Most cadets did not care, but Reinar's heart skipped. Rest. Ricted meant forbidden, and forbidden meant truth. After class ended, the hall filled with chatter. Cadets imitated humans, making wild gestures, pretending to fight each other. One alien with blue horns shouted, "I am human! Fear me!" and fell on the floor, pretending to die. The whole room shook with laughter, but Reinar did not laugh. He stared at the professor as he packed his things, noticing the man's trembling hands. Why would a teacher of the academy fear a species already banned, already erased? That night, in the dormitory, the laughter continued. "Humans," a cadet said, "couldn't even last in the council without fighting each other." "They destroyed themselves," another added. But Reinar's mind stayed on that flashing word, archive. He turned to his closest friend, a quick-eyed alien named Zarin. "Did you see it?" Reinar whispered. "See what?" "The file. The archive footage. It was hidden at the bottom of the screen." Zarin frowned. "Maybe it's nothing." But Reinar shook his head. "No. It means the council is hiding something." The next day, curiosity grew like fire inside him. When the lecture ended, instead of leaving, Reinar stayed behind. He walked carefully to the console at the front of the hall. His hands hovered above the controls. One touch could summon the restricted archive. He glanced around, making sure no one was watching. His heart beat fast. His scales itched with fear, but also with hunger for truth. The screen flickered. A list of files appeared, each marked with warning signs. One read, "Engagement footage for council eyes only." Reinar reached out, but before he could open it, a shadow fell over him. The professor stood there, silent, his eyes sharp. "You should not be here," the professor said, his voice low. Reinar froze, his throat dry. The professor leaned closer. "You do not understand what you are asking for." "Then tell me," Reinar whispered, "why are humans truly banned?" The professor's face darkened. He said only one sentence, a whisper like a knife. "Because they are not gone. They are only waiting." Reinar's blood ran cold. He wanted to ask more, but the professor shut the console and walked away, leaving silence behind. That night, Reinar told Zarin what had happened. His friend stared at him with wide eyes. "Not gone? What does that mean?" Reinar shook his head, his mind racing. It meant the ban was not a punishment. It was fear. And if humans were waiting, somewhere beyond the stars, then the galaxy's biggest secret was still alive. For the first time, Reinar felt the weight of the truth pressing on him. The laughter of the cadets no longer sounded like jokes. It sounded like ignorance. Somewhere in hidden archives, the truth about humans was locked away, and Reinar knew one thing. He had to see it. no matter the cost. The academy halls grew quiet after midnight. Most cadets slept in their chambers, dreaming of victories and honors yet to come. But Reinar was awake, his eyes fixed on the ceiling, his mind racing with the professor's final words. They are not gone. They are only waiting. Those words echoed in his skull like thunder, refusing to let him rest. He rose from his bed, his claws clicking softly against the cold floor. Zarin stirred, lifting his head. "Where are you going?" Reinar's voice was steady but low. "To find the truth." Zarin's eyes widened. "The archive? Are you insane? If they catch you, you'll be expelled. Worse, maybe even erased from the records." Reinar's jaw tightened. Better to be erased than to live in lies. Minutes later, the two crept through the academy's shadowed corridors. Every corner held the risk of patrol drones, their red eyes scanning for rule breakers. But Reinar knew the schedules. He had studied them for weeks. When they finally reached the main hall, the massive console glowed faintly like a sleeping beast. The same place where he had seen the forbidden files. Zarin WW whispered, "Last chance to turn back." But Reinar pressed his hand against the crystal surface, and the console awoke. A hidden menu flickered on the screen, lines of ancient code racing past. Reinar's heart pounded, his claws trembling as he typed in stolen codes he had gathered from whispers and old manuals. Finally, the words appeared. "Archive access granted. Restricted level." Zarin gasped. "You did it." Reinar's voice shook. "No, we've only begun." The first file blinked into view, its title burned across the screen in bright red. Human Engagement, Battle of Rincor Rift. The file was stamped with warnings. For council eyes only, penalty of erasure. But Reinar did not hesitate. He opened it. The screen filled with static, then cleared. The cadets froze as moving images came alive. It was not a story told by teachers, not a sketch in a book. It was real, raw footage. Alien fleets stretched across the stars, dozens of massive warships, their cannons glowing. The voice of a commander echoed, "Target the human vessels. They are few. Finish them quickly." The fleet opened fire, and light filled the void. But then the humans moved. Tiny ships, no larger than shuttles compared to the alien cruisers, darted into the fire. They weaved between plasma bolts with impossible precision. One ship spun in a full circle, releasing a burst of energy that tore through 3 enemy cruisers in seconds. Zarin gasped, That's impossible." The screen showed human pilots speaking quickly in their strange, clipped language. Their faces were calm, their eyes steady, not a single flicker of fear. They fought like predators, silent and ruthless. Reinar's claws dug into the console. Every strike, every maneuver was faster than anything he had ever seen. One small squadron of humans cut through an entire alien fleet as if slicing paper. The footage ended suddenly, leaving only siles, and Sharon's chest heaved. "That wasn't weakness. That wasn't recklessness," Reinar whispered. "That was power." Before they could replay it, alarms blared. Red lights flashed across the hall and a burst beatus. The next morning, the academy looked the same on the surface. Cadets walked the shining corridors, laughter echoed in the halls, training drills filled the air with shouts and orders, but for Reinar and Zarin, nothing was the same anymore. They carried a secret heavier than any weapon, heavier than any law. They had seen the truth. Every face in the academy now looked different to Reinar. The cadets laughed at humans, mocked them as weak, but all Reinar could hear was the scream of plasma fire and the silence of human pilots who showed no fear. He watched the same aliens who laughed now, imagining how quickly their laughter would die if they saw what he saw, but he could not tell them, not yet. At the dining hall, the whispers began. A group of cadets leaned over their food trays, voices hushed. "Did you hear? Security drones swarmed the archive wing last night," one whispered. "They say someone tried to break into the human files," another muttered. "Maybe it was a glitch," a third said, but his voice shook. "Or maybe someone wanted to know the truth." The word truth hung in the air like a blade. Zarin froze, his hands gripping his cup too tightly. Reinar kept his head down, but his heart pounded. The professor entered the hall, his steps slow, his face unreadable. He scanned the room with tired eyes, and for a moment, his gaze locked on Reinar. It was not anger, not suspicion, but something else. Warning. Then he turned away, walking past as though nothing had happened. Jaren leaned closer, whispering, "He knows. He must know." Reinar whispered back, "Then why didn't he report us?" Later that day, during a tactical lecture, the cadets were shown old council battles, alien victories, wars won with technology and discipline. The instructor spoke proudly, pointing at glowing fleets on the screen. "Here you see the strength of unity. The council has always stood against chaos, always defeated those who threatened order." The cadets cheered, pounding their tables, but Reinar's mind screamed, "Liars!" He looked at the images, at fleets crushing small resistance groups, but none of them matched the footage he saw. Humans tearing through fleets with impossible skill. The council showed victories, but never defeats, never the battles they wanted erased. When the lecture ended, Reinar and Jaren slipped into a quiet study hall. Jaren's voice shook. "Everyone's talking about last night. If they find out it was us, we're done." Reinar stared out the window at the twin suns. "We can't stop now. The professor knows something. He's hiding the truth, maybe. He wants us to uncover it," Jaren snapped. "Or maybe he's leading us to ruin." The door creaked open, and the old professor stepped inside. The two cadets froze, their scales tight with fear. He looked at them for a long moment before speaking. "You are both reckless," he said quietly, "but perhaps recklessness is what the galaxy needs." Reinar's breath caught. "You saw the footage, didn't you?" The professor's eyes darkened. "More than you ever will. I was there, during the early wars. I know what humans can do," Jaren whispered. "Then why keep the secret?" The professor's voice trembled. "Because if the galaxy remembered, it would never sleep again." He sat down, his shoulders heavy, his voice low but sharp. "Humans fight differently. They do not fear death the way others do. They push when they should retreat. They adapt when they should collapse. They win battles they should lose." His eyes narrowed. "That is why the council fears them." Reinar's claws dug into the table. "Then the council lied. They told us humans were unstable, that they destroyed themselves." The professor leaned closer, his voice a whisper. "The truth is worse. Humans did not destroy themselves. The council forced them into isolation because no empire, no fleet could defeat them." Zaren's eyes widened, his voice shaking. "If that's true, then where are they now?" The professor stared into the distance, silent, waiting, watching. A chill swept through the room. For a long time, none of them spoke. Only the hum of distant engines filled the silence. Finally, Reinar whispered, "We need proof. More than just words. The others won't believe us." The professor's expression hardened. "Proof exists, buried deep in the central vaults, far below this academy. But if you go there, you won't come back the same." Zaren's voice cracked. "Then why tell us?" The professor's eyes glimmered. "Because the council fears silence, and sometimes the young must break it." That night, as darkness fell across the academy, rumors spread faster than fire. Some cadets claimed to hear strange signals on the academy scanners. Others whispered that the council itself was sending inspectors, but the most dangerous whispers of all came from Reinar and Jaren, two cadets who had seen too much, who now carried a question heavier than any ban. If humans were waiting, what would happen when they returned? The academy was restless. Whispers filled the corridors like shadows no one could escape. Rumors of secret files, hidden footage, and strange signals moved from mouth to mouth. But Reinar and Jaren no longer listened with the same ears. They had crossed a line, and there was no return. That night, they followed the professor again, deeper into the academy's underlevels. Few cadets even knew such halls existed. The walls were old, carved from stone before the academy had been modernized. Dim lights glowed overhead, and the air was heavy. The professor's voice was soft. "You asked for proof. You shall have it." They reached a sealed chamber guarded by heavy doors of black alloy. The professor placed his hand on the lock, ancient runes flashing across its surface. "Inside lies footage from the war the council does not speak of," he said, his eyes grave. "Watch, Ed, and you will understand why the galaxy fears them." The doors groaned open, revealing a dark room with a single console glowing faintly at its heart. Renar and Jaren stepped closer, their scales prickling with unease. The professor activated the console and the screen lit up. Another file appeared, marked with heavy seals. Battle of Varus Prime. Do not distribute. Reinar's claws trembled as he touched the symbol. The screen flickered, then filled with fire. They saw a planet burning. Great alien warships hovered in the skies, unleashing firestorms that tore cities apart. Thousands of civilians screamed and scattered, their cries lost in the roar of destruction. Zarin gasped. This was no simple war. The professor's voice was grim. It was an extermination. But then, human ships appeared from the clouds, not vast fleets, not endless armadas, but a handful of battered vessels, their hulls scarred, their weapons glowing red from strain. Yet they charged without hesitation, without fear. The alien warships turned, unleashing a storm of fire. Plasma bolts lit up the skies, tearing chunks of atmosphere apart. Any sane fleet would have retreated, regrouped, surrendered, but the humans did not. They pushed forward, their small ships weaving through the inferno. Every maneuver looked reckless, but every strike landed with precision. One human vessel dove directly into the path of a massive alien cruiser. Instead of braking, it unleashed a burst of energy that split the cruiser in half. The screen shook with the force of the explosion. Zarin clutched the table, his voice breaking. They're mad. No, they're brilliant. Another ship sacrificed itself, ramming into a battleship and igniting its core, but each sacrifice tore the enemy apart. Piece by piece, the camera shifted to ground level. Human soldiers fought in the ruins of Varus Prime. They were outnumbered. 10-1. Yet they advanced, eyes burning, faces calm. They used weapons the cadets had never seen before. Every strike was efficient, every move exact. They fought like predators who had hunted in. The alarm still echoed through the academy's underlevels. Red lights flashed in every corridor. Drones hummed in search of intruders. Reinar and Zarin ran through the shadows, the professor's words burning in their minds. They had seen humans fight. They had seen courage that defied logic, and now they understood why the galaxy had been fed lies. They reached a hidden service tunnel, breathing hard. Zarin whispered, "We can't keep doing this. They'll catch us. They'll erase us." But Reinar's eyes blazed. "No, we can't stop. The truth is bigger than us. The Council fears it. That means we must find it." For 2 days they stayed quiet. They attended classes, pretended to laugh, blended with the crowd. But the whispers grew louder. Rumors of intruders spread across the academy. Some cadets joked that ghosts of humans haunted the halls. Others claimed secret agents of the Council were watching every step. Reinar and Zarin exchanged glances. Neither joke nor rumor felt far from the truth. That night, the professor summoned them again. In a hidden study chamber, he placed an ancient data crystal on the table. "This," he said softly, "is the file you seek. It is called Council Deliberation, Human Ban. It is the root of the lie." The crystal pulsed with faint blue light. Reinar touched it, and the room was filled with projection. Holographic figures appeared, council leaders from a century ago. They stood in a grand chamber, voices heavy with fear. One alien elder spoke. "The humans must be removed, not for their weakness, but for their strength. Their nature is too dangerous to control." Another argued, "They have defeated fleets larger than their own. They have adapted to every weapon we used. If they continue, no empire will stand." The chamber shook with voices of panic and anger. Finally, the council leader declared, "We cannot destroy them. We cannot conquer them. So, we will isolate them. We will ban them from all contact. We will erase their victories from history." The projection ended, leaving silence. Jaren's hands shook. It was never about peace. It was fear. Reinar's voice was low but fierce. They lied to every cadet, every citizen, every world. They turned strength into shame. They made courage look like madness. The professor's eyes glistened with old pain. "I fought in those wars. I saw humans with my own eyes. I saw them break our fleets with ships that should have failed. I saw them stand when all others fled. That is why I left the council. I could not live inside a lie." His voice broke. But the lie has lived too long. It has shaped a generation that laughs at humans instead of fearing them. Reinar leaned forward, his claws digging into the table. Then it's time to break the lie. The professor shook his head. You don't understand. If you reveal the truth, the council will crush you before your words spread. They guard this secret with blood. Anyone who tries to speak will disappear, Zarin whispered. Then why tell us? The professor's eyes burned. Because the truth has weight, and one day it will be too heavy for the council to carry. Suddenly, the crystal flickered again. Another fragment of the file appeared, an unfinished note from the council archives. Humanity is not defeated, it is contained. But containment cannot last forever. If the seal breaks, if they return. The rest of the message was cut off. Reinar felt his blood run cold. If they return. What? The professor's voice dropped to a whisper. If they return, nothing will stand. The silence was broken by the sound of pounding footsteps outside. The professor's face hardened. They've found us. He shoved the data crystal into Reinar's hands. Take it, run, keep it safe. If the council seizes it, the truth dies with me. Zarin panicked. What about you? The professor's eyes were calm. I am already marked. But you, your voices still have a chance. The door burst open. Security drones flooded in, their weapons glowing red. The professor raised his hand, unleashing a surge of light from the console, blinding the drones. Go, he shouted. Reinar and Zarin ran, clutching the crystal, their hearts pounding, their lungs burning. Behind them, the professor's voice echoed one last time. Remember what you saw. Remember what they fear. They escaped into the night, hiding among the towering spires of the academy. The crystal pulsed in Reinar's hands like a living heart. Inside it lay the greatest lie of the galaxy, the secret that could shatter the council. Zarin's voice trembled. What do we do now? Reinar's eyes blazed with determination. We don't hide. We find more. We show the truth. And when the time comes, when humans return, the galaxy will know who they really are. The twin suns sank below the horizon, and shadows covered the academy. But in those shadows, a fire had been lit, a fire of forbidden truth, a fire the council could never contain. And for the first time, Reinar felt something stronger than fear. He felt destiny. The academy was no longer safe. Every corridor seemed to hold eyes. Every shadow felt alive. Reinar and Zarin kept moving, never sleeping in the same place twice. The data crystal burned in Reinar's pocket like a living star. It held the secret the council would kill to protect. One night, hidden inside an abandoned observatory tower, they dared to open the crystal again. The projector flared to life, casting ghostly light across the broken walls. The first files repeated what they had seen before. Council leaders admitting fear, admitting lies. But now the crystal revealed a deeper file, sealed under 3 layers of encryption. Zarin gasped. This is locked by something more powerful than the rest. Reinar's claws tapped the console. Then it must be the one they fear the most. They was orked for hours, bypassing codes older than the academy itself. Finally, with a crack of light, the file opened. A chamber appeared on the screen, darker than before. Council leaders sat in silence, their faces pale with terror. The voice of the High Chancellor echoed, "Containment is failing. The humans are not broken. They are learning. They are waiting." The room shook with panic. One elder slammed his staff, shouting, "We must strike again, destroy what remains before they rise." Another cried, "We already tried, fleets beyond counting, weapons of worlds, and still we failed. They adapt too quickly, they turn every weakness into strength." The Chancellor's face hardened. "Then we do not destroy them. We bury them in silence, we erase them from history, and we pray they never come back." The file shifted, now showing footage from a secret war no cadet had ever heard of. Human ships hidden in asteroid fields, striking council fleets with impossible precision. A single human vessel destroying a warship 10 times its size. Soldiers fighting hand-to-hand against alien elites, never yielding, never retreating. Even in defeat, their eyes carried fire. Zarin whispered, his voice shaking. They never stopped. They kept fighting, even after the ban. The projection ended with a chilling message. A single human figure stood before a burning world, his voice steady. "We will not bow. We will not vanish. If you erase us from history, then history itself will betray you. When we return, you will remember why you feared us." The image flickered out, leaving silence so heavy it crushed the air. Zarin collapsed to his knees, trembling. It's true, all of it, the council lied. They didn't just ban humans. They tried to erase them, and still they survived. Reinar's hands shook, but his voice burned with fire. Not just survived. They waited. They're out there, somewhere beyond Tan. He council's reach. Suddenly, a soft beeping filled the observatory. The console pulsed with red light. Unauthorized access detected. Council security en route. Sharon's eyes widened with terror. They traced us. We're finished. Reinar grabbed the crystal, shoving it into his cloak. No, we can't stop now. This truth must live, even if we don't. The door burst open. Drones swarmed inside, weapons glowing. Reinar and Zarin leapt through the broken window, landing hard on the metal walkways outside. The chase began, red beams flashing past them, burning holes into the walls. The night sky split with alarms, the whole academy waking to the hunt. As they ran, Zarin shouted, "What if they catch us? What if they take the crystal?" Reinar's voice was fierce. "Then we make sure the truth spreads before they do. We can't let the galaxy keep living in lies." They dashed into a lower tunnel, escaping into the maze of the underlevels. The sound of drones grew distant, but the danger was not gone. They stopped only when their lungs burned. Zarin pressed against the wall, panting. "Why us, Reinar? We're just cadets, not leaders, not soldiers." Reinar looked at him with blazing eyes. "Because sometimes it takes the youngest, the overlooked, to carry the heaviest truths. And because we've seen what others refuse to see." He held the crystal high, its light shining in the darkness. "This is not just history. It's a warning. If humans return, the council will fall." Far above, the Academy's great towers glowed under the twin moons. But below, in the shadows, two cadets carried a secret that could ignite the galaxy. The professor's words echoed in Reinar's mind. If humans ever return, it will not be war, it will be judgment. And in his heart, Reinar knew the judgment was coming sooner than anyone expected. The Academy was no longer a place of learning. It had become a cage, a hunting ground, a trap of silence. Reinar and Zarin knew every corner now held danger. Every corridor echoed with the hum of drones. The council's grip was tightening. But the crystal in Reinar's cloak still pulsed with truth. They hid in the old power conduits beneath the Academy. Metal walls shook with the hum of engines. Faint sparks lit the tunnels in blue flashes. Zarin's voice cracked. "We can't run forever. Sooner or later they'll find us." Reinar gritted his teeth. "Then we don't run. We make sure the galaxy hears the truth before they silence us." He activated the crystal one last time, but instead of old footage, a hidden command appeared. "Emergency broadcast link, encrypted signal detected." Reinar's heart raced. "It's not just a file, it's a beacon." Zarin's eyes widened. "A beacon to what?" They pressed the command, and the console lit with strange symbols. A transmission burst across the stars, carrying the forbidden footage, carrying the council's lies. Every Academy relay, every hidden frequency began to pulse with the signal. Instructors froze in their chambers. Students stopped in the dining hall, screens flashing with human battles, human courage, council confessions. The truth was no longer hidden. Panic swept through the Academy. Cadets gasped as they saw fleets burned by tiny human squadrons. They heard council leaders whisper, "We cannot defeat them." They saw the last words of a human soldier declaring, "We will return." The laughter that once filled the halls vanished, replaced with silence, shock, and fear. Then the unthinkable happened. The signal spread beyond the Academy, out across nearby systems, into trade networks, into military channels. The lie of a century cracked open. Zarin trembled. "We've done it. They can't hide it anymore." But Reinar's eyes stayed locked on the console. "No, look, the signal is not just going out, it's calling something back." The console's glow turned red. The hidden beacon completed its cycle. A new message appeared on the screen. One not from the council, but from somewhere else. "Signal received, standby." The room shook, lights flickered, alarms screamed across the Academy. Above the twin moons, sensors flared with sudden activity. Something vast entered the system, moving faster than any known vessel. Control towers panicked, broadcasting warnings. "Unidentified ship detected. Approach vector unknown." Cadets crowded the windows, staring at the night sky. At first they thought it was a meteor, a burning streak across the heavens, but then it slowed and its shape became clear. A ship, dark, angular, scarred by old wars, yet burning with fresh power. The humans had come. Reinar and Zarin stared at the glowing sky, their hearts pounding with both fear and awe. Zarin whispered, "We didn't just reveal the truth, we summoned it." Reinar's voice shook. "No, it was always waiting. We just lit the fire." The academy fell into chaos. Instructors screamed for order, cadets panicked, some fled, some prayed. The council's agents rushed to seize the crystal, but it was too late. Above, the human vessel drifted closer, its engines rumbling like thunder across the stars. A message pierced through every speaker in the academy, every console, every comlink. It was a voice, calm, steady, terrifying in its certainty. "We warned you once, you erased us, you mocked us, but we are not gone, we never were." The voice paused, then spoke words that froze every heart. "Remember why you banned us. Remember why you feared us. We have returned." The sky burned with light as the human ship hovered over the academy. Its weapons glowed, but it did not fire. It didn't need to. The very sight of it was enough to crush the pride of every alien watching. Cadets fell to their knees, instructors turned pale, even council agents trembled. Reinar's claws clenched, his heart pounding with awe. He whispered, "They are not myths. They are not weak. They are judgment." Zarin's voice broke. "What happens now?" Reinar's eyes never left the burning ship above. "Now," he said, his voice steady, "the galaxy remembers." The human vessel sent one final pulse of energy through the skies. Every screen across the academy, across the nearby worlds, lit with the same words. "We are humanity. We are back." The academy stood silent, the galaxy itself holding its breath. And in that silence, one truth became clear. The age of lies was over. The age of humanity had begun.